Good evening, ladies and gentle people. It is currently July 14th, 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily number 155. One of these days I'm going to have a lot of extra time on my hands, and I'll do that in Roman numerals, which is going to be totally sweet. Seriously, anytime it's New Year's, I just count backwards from 10 in Roman numerals, which just makes it a lot more fun, because like X, I, X, V, I, like stumbling all over the place. But anyways, we have some exciting terrain versus terrain action today between Morrow and Predy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But of course, updates from Sean's life. I just got done recording another absurdly sick set of games with MLG, which I actually record right before I do my dailies. And of course, I'm certain that those will be uploaded to the MLG's YouTube channel, if any of you are curious. But we had the unique problem of, in the very last game that was played, haha, I haven't spoiled the score for you. In the very last game that was played, it was like really, really close to my daily because, you know, the producer kept running out of hard drive space because, you know, it's doing HD recordings. So we were just like we was like hoping the players would cheese, like, oh my god, it was like cutting it so close. But that's okay. I barely managed to make it anyways, and, you know, there's always stupid stuff I have to do before my daily, like setting all these lights up, and I always have to flip my meat before the daily, so I'm marinating a steak, okay? I just gotta flip my meat before the daily. Hold on, guys. I might be a little bit late today. I'm what they call a tactical wordsmith, I suppose. But of course, other than Starcraft, look what I got in the mail. Akira! Volume 2. In case any of you don't know what Akira is, you can pretty much sum it up by two guys screaming, just going, Tetsuo Kaneda! And then the music comes in, it's like, dum, 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 da. My name is Akira. And that's basically the whole movie. You don't really need to see it after that. That's kind of most of the spoilers of the event. But of course, the big announcement for the day is, as usual, that it is only 13 days until the Day 9 Starcraft 2 Countdown Extravaganza, where we'll have all major community sites contributing some wonderful video content. And of course, we will be casting live the finals of the King of the Beta tournament. The invited players are QXC, Huck, Into the Rainbow, Tester, Idra, White Rod, Demaga. The little one? Have I said the little one yet? I'm going to try that again. Let's do the Americans. QXC, Huck, Idra. Let's do the Europeans. White Rod, Demaga, Little One. Let's do the Koreans. Into the Rainbow, Tester. There we go. Sweet, right? It's going to be an epic event. 2,000 for first, 1,000 for second. It's going to be a wonderful little thing, so you should catch it. Even if you can't show up, you can always catch the stream live at www.day9.tv. And, of course, if you want to attend the live event here in Los Angeles, California, that would be at day9tv.eventbrite.com. EVENTBRITE.com. So, enough of all this logistical junk. Let us jump into the game. We have a Terran vs. Terran between Morrow and Predy. And if you don't know those two names, you should. Predy is one of the early adopters of mech as Terran, and by early adopters, I mean like day one he was meching a ton. And of course, all the other Terrans were going, oh, I have this thing called a Marauder. Maybe if I make only that, I'll win. And that was true for like a month. But of course, Predy has been experimenting with mech for much longer than that. And of course, Morrow, one of the early pioneers of the gas-free Terran style, the many Expo, many Marine, and even in the early stages, many SCV battles going on. So I'm going to be doing some Terran vs. Terran action, and really Terran vs. Terran is probably in my top 3 for the favorite matchups of StarCraft 2 thus far, because it's super dynamic. Now see, Terran vs. Terran gets a bad rap because of StarCraft 1. Now, I love watching Terran vs. Terran and Brood War, but it's only really fun if you're watching the minimap like a hawk, because you have to be aware of the positioning. If you're aware of some slightly more subtle timings for, I would say your D- player, D+. They basically watch Terran vs. Terran, and it's tanks and more tanks and turtling, and an hour later, cool, we're mined out, let's get some battle cruisers, and an hour later, there's still floating buildings. It's, it drives people nuts. But Terran vs. Terran in StarCraft 2 is way more dynamic than that. In fact, all sets of unit-producing structures are super scary. In Brood War, it was pretty much the tanks, the vultures, the Goliaths, that sort of thing. But in StarCraft 2, the Marauders are a huge threat, just because they kill any armored units, especially in small numbers, and because they're very, very fast units, you have a lot of mobility. Medevacs in combination with the Marauders, obviously going to be a threat. If your opponent's immobile, you can hit them in a lot of points, and you can heal the Marauders. Tanks, kill shit good, so that's always excellent. You get the Vikings that give vision range to the tanks, and of course are great at killing other air units. You get the Banshees that are great against Marauders and tanks. I mean, the entire range. Thors, of course, are now increasingly huge in the matchups. There's incredible dynamism to think about. So, of all matchups, Terran vs. Terran is the one that I tend to watch the most replays of casually, just because I really want to get a sense of what people are doing, because it's just a lot of stuff to worry about. So I'm actually going to be watching more than one game. So I actually played a best of 3. These replays are from the Zotac Cup 15. Always love casting for the fine folks over at Zotac. And by the way, for any of you who are curious how I'm watching this replay, it's because I have not updated my European client. My American version is always updated to the max, but just watching on my good old European client. Every time I open up a replay, it's like, would you like to update? I'm like, no, kill it, I have it daily. And then, of course, I go flip my meat, right? Anyways, we have Predy spawning at the bottom as the Terran, and at the top we have Morrow spawning as the Terran. Let's just go ahead and open up our good old resource counting station so we can get a good sense of where these players are at. So I just want to have a good awareness of all the strategies that could be going on in this game, right? And a lot of just broad general stuff. I always hate thinking too specifically, like, oh my god, should I place the supply depot here because it walls off movement back here, or should I place it here because I want movement back there? We're just going to think in some big, broad, general terms. Wall off or not wall off? Well, if you're going to be making units early on, it's cool not to wall off. Also, sometimes if you wall off, you have to worry about tanks getting at your front, and then your opponent has some free depots. You have to worry about Banshees coming out eventually with Cloak, and the Banshee gets some free depots. I like this play walling off, or not walling off, instead just kind of hanging out and just building your unit-producing structures a little tighter here. And also we have the refinery. Notice how I've already made a big consideration about these depots. Building placement is something that a lot of lower-level players don't do. Definitely begin incorporating this after you get a reasonable strategy in there. It's just another thing to be aware of, to improve upon. And I guarantee this, the instant I saw the scouting SCV, you should always assume that that player is going for the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Big battles happen over the Xel'Naga Watchtower because, again, you want your tanks to get in a good spot. No better spot than right here where it has huge vision range and can even contain your opponent. And of course you get the chance to spot an incoming SCV or an incoming cheese. So these openings are pretty reasonable. Very few players are opening up with a double barracks in any matchup. Really, every player is going barracks, refinery. I've only ever actually seen QXC go barracks, barracks, or of course Morrow, who goes barracks, command center, barracks, 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 refinery. Good old standard play from Morrow. And Predy's just going to poke around, he's going to pull back. And already we're seeing some interestingness. For instance, this is all that Predy has seen. That's just about it. But this is a fun little technique to do. Is because you've scouted your opponent, you know about where he's at. Look, Predy has just enough to build a factory. Morrow has just started his factory. So right when Predy starts his, which is now, he goes, alright, cool, I know Morrow's basically doing that. Unless for some reason Morrow's going like a bunch of barracks for some weird reason, but chances are he's not. Marine already in a good position to snipe off any scouting worker, getting a lot of extra shots. Look at this little combination. Very good, very nice little tactic. Super cool. Morrow's still doing the scouting around. Ooh, I wish he would have stopped by that. I think that's pretty important in this matchup. A lot of Marines being made. So already, we have a few extra considerations to make. So let's just go ahead and start naming some strategies that we're aware of, right? There's the good old Marine tank Viking. That's been very popular. There is the very fast tank, which it seems like what Morrow's doing. There's super fast Banshee. There's also some pretty fast Marauders. And really, I would even crunch that down into 3. Tanks and Marines and Vikings. Mainly barracks units with the Marauder being the focus. And mainly Banshees. Just general stuff. Yeah, there's like 2 port Banshee, 1 port Banshee. Screw it, I don't care. Just want to get general concepts down here because I'm trying to be as aware of stuff as possible. And always do this when there's a matchup where there's a lot to think about. Just sort of stop and look at one player's point of view. I'm picking Predy because my screen happened to be on him. Okay, he really hasn't seen too much. This is kind of where he's at. And then pause. Go to the Morrow cam. Oh, it looks like Morrow is also going for a starport. Hasn't really made any Marines yet, just looks like one. Okay, cool. I'm starting to get a good sense of, oh yeah, look, the starport's going down. Let me see when that ends up finishing. So either way, Predy is doing an opening that I love in this matchup. I love Marine Hellion pushing, super strong. Looks like this SCV by Morrow is going to be scouting at just the right time. Now look at this. All that Predy's doing is non-stop Marine production till he gets the factory popping out, a Hellion, starport's coming down, and there should be a tech lab building very, very soon. I mean, I know there's stuff going on here. I can see the mini-map, but I still kind of want to check it out. Yep, there's a tech lab going down. And of course, with Morrow, let's just go to the Morrow camp, because that scan is pretty important. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like we're going to have Tank Viking coming out here from Morrow. Tank's almost done. We have some Marines just sort of out and about. Obviously, the starport with the good old reactor.